My name is Steve Clum. I'm one of the local physicians here in Springfield. Pastor Bruce asked me to talk about my faith as it relates to the study of science and medicine in my practice as a physician. For some background, I did my undergrad at Emporia State University. I studied molecular biology there. When I left Emporia State, I went on to a graduate program at the University of Kansas where I studied biochemistry and really did basic science research for 5 years. And after I left that, I went on to do my medical school training at the University of Kansas and went on to specialize in pulmonary critical care medicine, which brought us to Springfield, Missouri. I always had my faith, but in my undergraduate training, as you start to be introduced to theories of evolution and basic science, I think I questioned my faith some. And at that moment, I did what I think was very wise. I found someone who I trusted as a professor, but also knew as a Christian, and sat down with him and had a conversation. And I left that knowing that science does not exclude religion, religion does not exclude science. The two all stem from God. In science, just your daily activity of really looking at how we're designed and how things work, you marvel at our God. I mean, what He's been able to design and create that allows us to walk this earth, allows us to interact and have the life that we live. It's amazing when you look at really molecularly how we work. And I think day to day as a practice physician, I see God's presence everywhere, and in patients that are healed and in patients that pass away. It's amazing that you can see, His hand both sides, and you just have to look. And there's a plan with how the basic cell functions. There's a plan how the basic cell functions in the organ system, and there's a basic plan in how each organ system supports the organism that we're made to be, whether we're a human, a dog, or a cat. And I think when I sat down with my professor in college and asked him those questions, he gave me, I think, the best answer I could look for. He felt as every day that he was able to study science, he could understand God's creation in terms of how we're able to work. Like a mechanic understands how a car works, he understands the basic physiology of how we function and how life sustains. But when he looks at his faith, he looks at what is the plan that God has for him, and what are we designed to do? What is the purpose of us being here? And you're not going to find that by trying to look at a cell or look at an atom. The purpose is in our faith and what God designed us to do, to serve and to be the hands and feet of Christ. And I think that as simple as it was, it was the best advice in terms of, what I needed to hear and what I think is important to hear. The best advice I would have is when you start off on your track and you leave your home, you make sure that you find your Christian home. In other words, find your church. Make that an active part. When you go to college, whether it's undergrad or medical school, there's going to be tons of distractions and tons of activities that are going to be great to be involved in. But it will be the first time in your life that it's your choice to get up and go to Sunday morning service and get involved in the church. And what I will tell you is that I think if you make sure you find your church home, you will surround yourself with a community of faith. And I think your faith is strengthened in the church.